So, dear ladies and gentlemen, it's a collection of my reflections and digressions on the topic. I will just try to, master the computer. So 200 years of museum architecture is behind us. I'm going to talk about exhibitions, works of art, humans, people dedicated, places dedicated to exhibitions, but mostly, as Professor Stelmach has said, I am going to refer to this human side of architecture and to people in particular. So 200 years of museum architecture and a complete transformation over the decades, over the years. But the more we move towards contemporaneity, the more we see digital art in museum spaces. So it actually turns out that we no longer need space. It is enough to have glasses, goggles, and you can experience virtual art. You need nothing. Sometimes it seems that the white box is a thing of the past, and the black box is also a thing of the past, and nobody wants to be placed inside of a black box unless you are at a cinema. So virtuality, digital art is all over the place, and the visitors are not that much interested in what the technology is about. They want to experience the work. It's all about emotions, and the digital art obviously starts in '95 when the Canadian artist Charlotte Davis presented her digital movie Cosmos. So that digital technologies support artists. We know that art keeps evolving, keeps changing. We have also violence in art. We have works, exhibitions that are today available to viewers who are 18 or older. There is an application, Acute Art, which is very useful for ordinary people who want to go into artist studios, and it also supports artists who create the works, the films. And for instance, Anish Kapoor created a film that symbolizes vertigo, and through vertigo, well, it's just a shot from this movie. He tries to penetrate inside our bodies and represent what is happening when we experience vertigo. Priester, together with his partner, in 2018, used more than 7,000 metal barrels in London to create a mastaba, and after his death it was transformed into a virtual image that you can see at the very same venue or anywhere else in the world. As you can see, we are in the nature, and artists very often refer to nature, and they are not completely convinced that they need to fit into a space that is limited into a museum space, that it doesn't have to be a white cube. So obviously, land art in the 1970s, it is also something that goes beyond the museum space, and you can see pictures of it, makeups in the museum space, but in fact, we are not going to experience it in a museum. Yet another example of an artistic approach to the environment is represented by Catherine Grosse, who uses painting to combine architecture and landscape. And this is water sports base. She uses her painting creation to create this link between abandoned barracks and the shore. Here, an Argentinian artist who became an entrepreneur.
Niedaleko swoich
He
hoteli
has
na
a chain
Półwyspie
of
Yucatan,
hotels at the Yucatan Peninsula. He created a museum which represents a complete return to nature. So he is abandoning forms that we associate with museums. It is a purely organic form, and he invites artists to open to nature and to completely release their imagination. Now let us now move to a different continent. This is Africa. In Congo, as we can see, we can have a white box designed by Oma from the Netherlands. It was a form of protest against the abuse by huge corporations on cocoa plantations, in this case in Congo, where the plantation owners and workers took the matters into their own hands, and it is an expression of a protest against abuse. There is an organization of plantation owners that produces palm oil and cacao, and they transport cacao to Amsterdam, which is the biggest port transporting cacao, and there is one company that produces in 3D chocolate sculptures using these materials. As you can see, workers took matters into their own hands. They took shovels and they organized the entire building and the area around it. But also artists transform architecture, or they create these references to everyday use objects, and they give us tools. They give us tools, rakes, shovels, so that we are able to extract something from the land. And once we do that, we go to a museum, we read, we watch, and we need to do some exercise, stretch our back after hard work. So once we dig out a helpful hand, this hand is holding a lipstick. That can create something. And I want to say at the same time that, contrary to what may be done, I always, and what is allowed, I always photograph people in museums and galleries, and not only artworks. I am interested in human behavior. And these are situations that I caught in my camera. These are the visitors who are trying to match what they are seeing. They sometimes pretend to be artworks. And art wouldn't be present in such a scale in our world had it not been for the art market. And it is the art market that then gives art a new dimension of life. This connection between art and nature is important. So let us have a look at the banana that has been painted in many different ways, processed by many artists, including by Lachowicz. But it turns out that there are no limits regarding the use of this fruit. A few years ago, Catalan, at the exhibition in Miami, took out banana from his pocket and taped it to the wall, and immediately the work was insured to the amount of $120,000. And the same work, maybe the banana was a different one, but at the Seoul exhibition, a simple visitor, a student from Korea, took it off the wall and simply consumed it. And then the subsequent banana was purchased by a Korean Korean couple for $120,000. And here, obviously, one of the students placed his glasses on the floor, and immediately it turned out that everybody paid attention to the glasses rather than to the artworks hanging on the walls. And the glasses were not closed placed on any podium, but were placed provocatively on the floor. So going back a few years into the pandemic, we were all scared by the pandemic, by COVID, but it inspired us to spend more time with other people, to meet others. We went outside, we wanted to experience art in person. And it is not necessarily the art that is found in museums. And these are not museums that are the best places for displaying art. If possible, I go to artists' studios because it is there where you can experience the atmosphere, the spirit of an artist and the spirit of what is being created at a specific venue. Marcel Duchamp basically packed his studio into a single suitcase. So here, the south of France, a really fantastic gallery created by a foundation. This is a museum space that refers to the Milo's studio in Majorca. So it is something that has been designed, the space has been designed on the basis of the space where Miro operated. And this is the best way to experience artists' space and works in the context of the space in which they were created. But the white space, the white box, white cube still exists. Even artists refer to this space. Baselitz, a German artist, many years ago created this ideal model of exhibition space where 4 rooms were equal. There was no hierarchy between them. 20 years later, Christian Jankowski, again from Germany, transformed a railway station, creating a similar cube, but yet a black cube in which he displayed his art, video art, referring to the idea of camera obscura. Camera obscura has always served for us as a model because artists were quite willing to take over old factories. They painted walls black, and oftentimes this display space, this exhibition space, is a testimony to the ideas of the artist who functioned in a specific area. But apart from these white and black spaces, we have this gray zone which is undefined in terms of its dimension, but it is a space for artists who present art. This is the Museum of Modern Art, actually. This presentation lasted for 1 month during the museum opening hours, and artists directed by Maria Hasabi, just moved at a slow pace, almost imperceptible. The idea of the gray zone is also encompassing of the invitation to join the artists. So the public has a different relationship with the artists, and the technology and technique are not necessary for the artist to create something. So, focusing all the time on humans, let us move on back to our fantastic continent. So it's not a picture from Venice, but for me, art is a performance. It inspires some emotions by seeing paintings. We experience something. There is a deluge of emotions that comes over us, and in a way, we are transported out of the real space, out of the real time. If we spend there a little bit more time, if we leave the museum, it turns out it is already dark, and once we reach the first corner of a street in Venice, we find ourselves at the very same place emotionally as in front of a painting by Magritte, and soon people we haven't seen for a long time emerge from the darkness. So this is a person who's here with us. So why do we go to a museum? The question seems quite simple and obvious. We want to have contact with the works of art and so on, but to tell you the truth, this contact takes various forms. Sometimes we want to feel that we are in the spotlight as the works themselves. Sometimes we pretend to be works of art ourselves. Sometimes we just want to have a nap. So we blend into the pictures, into the images. We become almost a part of the images, or maybe the images become a part of us. It is a question of interpretation. A few years ago, the foundation, Louis Vuitton Foundation in Paris, organized a retrospective of two British artists, Gilbert and George, and what happened? There were also people who thought that they were a part of the collection. I'm not obviously here to laugh at them. Maybe they were virtual and the art was real, or the other way around. Last year at the Picasso Museum in Paris, there was an incredible exhibition created by Paul Smith, the British fashion dictator, who selected some of the works
i zainteresował się
from the collection and
Picassa i przede
focused on certain phases in Picasso's artistic activity, and in particular focusing on color. And he exhibited these works in a specific context against very colorful patterned walls. So at some point people came in and they blended in with the background. So these are not photos that would be somehow staged. So these are just people who came to view the exhibition, also looking to find themselves. Maybe we come to museums to understand ourselves, our own nature, and the burdens we carry, or maybe perhaps we want to simply experience a true work of art. Maybe we want to find relationships between art and reality. And maybe simply we want to experience a place where works of art were created. And this is why I go to Giverny, where you can experience the work of artists differently, because you are at the spot where these works were created. And to conclude, art needs a wall. Thank you very much.